Good afternoon. On behalf of the Delmarva Land and Litter Collaborative, welcome to our Collaborative Funding Forum webinar. I'm Bob Frazee and current chair of the DLLC. The DLLC is a group of leaders from chicken companies, farmers, regulatory agencies, academia, and environmental organizations that come together to work in a collaborative, mission-driven partnership. Our mission is to build trust across these sectors through shared learning and dialogue around science-based solutions that will catalyze collective action that supports profitable chicken and grain farming while protecting healthy land and water on the Delmarva Peninsula. Our vision is a Delmarva where farming and poultry production are economically viable, environmentally sound, and recognized as a national model. So in the spirit of collaboration and convening, the DLLC has been hosting a series of meetings beginning last year as a resource for our community of stakeholders. Our intent is to provide useful information on relevant topics and support connection and the potential for sharing and collaboration within our community. Funding is one of those relevant topics, and the current state of affairs in that realm seems ripe for discussion. To lead that discussion today, we're pleased that Suzy Daubert, state conservationist for Maryland, Delaware, and the District of Columbia from the USDA Natural Resources Conservation Service, has joined us. In addition, Leon Tillman, who is the assistant state conservationist for programs, will also be joining us. They bring a visionary leadership style and great perspectives for our work and for the webinar today. They'll provide an overview of current and upcoming NRCS funding opportunities, including but not limited to following programs: the Regional Conservation Partnership Program, Environmental Quality Incentives Program, and the Conservation Stewardship Program. And in a minute, we'll turn the floor over to them. But first, I'd like to pass to Paula Jasinski, who will talk about some of the logistics and arrangements for the meeting today. Paula?
Thank you, Bob, and thank you all for joining us today for this really important webinar on NRCS funding opportunities and hear directly from them. So thanks for spending your lunch with us today and the Delmarva Land and Litter Collaborative. If everybody could take a second and introduce themselves in the chat, just your name and what organization you're with, that would be great to build some collaboration and so you know who's here and others know who you are and who you represent. We do ask that everybody mute themselves today during the presentations. For Q&A, we encourage everybody to use the chat feature and just type them in there. And so we will be taking questions and facilitating that with the speakers today. We are also recording the webinar and it will be on the Delmarva Land and Litter Collaborative site by tomorrow afternoon. So we do encourage you to go there, and we are likely to follow up by email with some materials as well. So again, thank you for joining. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Suzy.
Good afternoon. Thank you for the introduction and the opportunity to share our funding opportunities that NRCS will have available. Right now, we have our fantastic team with us, and I am ready to share some exciting news about our Regenerative pilot program. And our chief of NRCS, Aubrey Betancourt, will be presenting. Oh, hang on. Let me get this on. I have a video to share with you. Let's see. There we go. There we go.
Hey everyone, this is Aubrey Betancourt, your chief of the Natural Resources Conservation Service, and welcome to my office. I hope one day to have y'all here. Today I wanted to spend some time talking with you about the Farmer First Regenerative pilot program that was recently and fabulously announced by Secretary Rollins, Secretary Kennedy, and Dr. Oz. This program is meant to focus on the core principles of soil health, water management, and natural vitality, those core and universal principles of NRCS for over 90 years. This is a really unique and new opportunity where we are addressing head on the fact that we are losing 2,000 to 5,000 acres of farmland a day. And so as an investment back into our core mission of keeping our farmers on the landscape and farming to their best ability, we are dedicating $700 million here at NRCS back to you, the farmer. So there's a couple of key components to this. One is it is $700 million dedicated through programs that you know and are familiar with, that I myself have been a customer with as well. It's $400 million through EQIP and $300 million through CSP. There's a set of specific practices that fall into the regenerative category for the purposes of this pilot. Now that list may grow and change over time. That's the point of the pilot, is your feedback. But this is kind of the core foundational practices at NRCS that support those three core foundational principles of Regen Ag. So with that, there's a component that includes whole farm planning. This actually allows you, the farmer, to work with NRCS out in your farm to see all of the resource concerns across your property and then match that up with all of the potential practices and solutions that NRCS brings to bear and available to you. The other component to that is, of course, giving you credit where credit is due. And so there's actually outcome-based reporting that also allows us to give good data to you to set a benchmark and then, of course, see at the end of this pilot those improvements as well, specific to soil health. And so there's a soil testing component as well. Now, critical to all of this is, of course, protecting your personal information. It belongs to you, and that, again, is really a foundational principle of this program as well, which is to give you that information back to you, specific to your farm, as what regenerative ag is, which is a conservation management approach very specific to your farming type, your soil type, your climate, your water quality. So let's talk about what engaging in this program would look like. I think there's really like three categories when I think of the customer coming into the office, when I think of myself or my family going into the office on this. You have those that we've already been engaged in these practices. So it starts with that menu of practices. You can find that on the Regenerative Pilot Program website on nrcs.usda.gov. Start there. If you're engaged in any one of those practices, I think you go into the office and you say, hey, I'm engaged in some of these. How do I merge into this program so I can get my initial outcomes report and explore what my other options are by looking at my whole farm plan, which then allows me to address multiple resource concerns on a singular application. So I think you start there. The second kind of category is really kind of where my family falls into, which is we probably need to look at this list and go, hey, do the practices I've been doing fall into any of these current practices? So reviewing that, and if there's anything on that list that I'm thinking of doing, how do I engage in this program in order to now take advantage of the practices I maybe haven't moved on yet, but would like to, and get that whole farm plan. So I have a multi-year plan for what I'm doing on my farm as I start engaging in these practices on the farm. So that's kind of that second category. And then the third is, I've never thought about this a day, and I should just take a look and see what it is and see where it starts and how do I start. And that's really where you want to go in and probably sit with staff at NRCS and take a look at that list and say, look, I've been thinking about these things. Where do I get started? Please immediately tell staff to get out on your farm and come take a look at what all your resource concerns are. That's what our team out there in the field is designed and out there to do for you. Because this is EQIP and CSP, your applications are accepted all year long. And then again, on the back end of that is going to be that outcomes-based report, giving you credit where credit is due, both in your soil health improvement, your water quality and water quantity improvement, your habitat development, so that you can demonstrate what we all know to be true, which is the farmer is part of the solution and not part of the problem. Keeping you farming is so critical to taking care of those resources that take care of all of us. I would say your first call is that local office. Head in there. You're going to get to choose your own adventure if you want to stay in EQIP or you want to graduate to CSP. But again, this is all voluntary. It's all locally led. It's up to you. We know that you uniquely need to manage your farm. Please visit us at your local county office. You can find those at nrcs.usda.gov. And we look forward to seeing you in the field. Thank you so much for everything that you do. Please stay safe out there, and we will see you.
All right. Well, thank you for watching that. And now I'm going to hand it off to my colleague, Leon Tillman, to go through our presentations.
Thank you so much, Suzy. And good afternoon. I don't know what time zone some others may be in, but if folks are in the central, good morning. Definitely a pleasure to be back speaking with those with the DLLC, I know some may recognize my face. It may have been a little while, but definitely appreciate the opportunity to come back as well and talk about some of the funding opportunities through NRCS. And some of these will be some you're familiar with. Some may be some programs as well you're familiar with the different twist to it or a different change to it. And so we're gonna highlight today our EQIP program, talk about our conservation stewardship program and its changes. Again, touching on in some additional detail the regenerative pilot program, as well as our regional conservation partnership program. So with this slide, I do want to just highlight and emphasize, as we are talking about that regenerative pilot program, that it is a pilot program under and within our EQIP and CSP program. So it's not its own individual program, but do want to cover those, how that pilot will work separate from the traditional programs, just to highlight some of those differences and what makes that unique as we're implementing that this year. So I'm not going to bore folks to spend too much time on things that many are familiar with, but as always, we do have our EQIP program. We did have an announcement for our financial assistance programs back on December 15th for an initial batching deadline of January 15th. So we are after that date, but as you heard in the Chief's video, we do accept applications on a continuous basis. So if you're working with producers or ag landowners that are interested in our programs, tell them to go ahead and stop by our office to turn in those applications. And so our EQIP program is one many are familiar with. It provides that technical and financial assistance to address any and all resource concerns, which is focused on our customers' objectives. So as the chief mentioned, getting out there, looking at what may be the issues on the farm and being able to hit those pinpoint spots where your farmers and producers that you're working with may have those concerns, may want to prioritize and tackle issues initially as they're working across their operations. And we use a plethora of different conservation practices from our fencing, water facilities, our waste storage facilities, pipeline, and many other facilitating practices to be able to address those issues. Now, with our EQIP program, we do have a contract limit for individuals of $450,000 in a contract, and we have a limit of $900,000 for those joint operations that get an approved waiver. So if there is not a waiver, it will be $450,000 limit for the individual or joint operation without a waiver. So who are we working with? We're working with all of our farmers, ranchers, producers, even our forest landowners and operators, whether they're small operations, whether they're large operations, those that may even be CAFOs, those that may even be looking at it from a smaller scale perspective, dealing with specialty crops. So we offer these opportunities for all. We do have priorities for our historically underserved farmers. So those that may be beginning farmers, veteran farmers, socially disadvantaged, limited resource, we do have incentives, additional incentives for those producers as it pertains to our programs to be able to ensure that they're also getting their needs met, and also looking at it as well from our urban ag perspective and working with our urban farmers. So acknowledging and understanding that production also happens in more of those urban landscapes. And so we have our practices that are available to work as well on the scale that our urban farmers are looking and needing as well. So how does it work with our EQIP program? And it does as well with our CSP programs and others, but it starts with a conservation plan. So we'll be going out and again, inventorying what are the issues on that operation and what practices, management, and other items may be needed to address those issues and resource concerns. Through our EQIP program, we have statutorily a 10-year maximum for a contract. In Maryland, usually our contracts are about 3 years to get that contract started and working with the participant to get those contracts wrapped up. And part of that is because those shorter contracts do work better as we look at items as far as purchasing items for implementation, managing inflation, and our payment rate, because it does lock in with the contract, being able to maximize the dollar that's provided to the participant for what they're trying to get implemented. And with our EQIP, I did want to highlight that it is financial assistance for the practice and/or management that's being implemented. So it is not traditionally our cost share that we do as far as historical, where we're basing that on the individual's receipts, but we are paying a set rate that is based on the cost to implement a practice, and that participant would receive that payment based on the size or scale of the implementation at that set rate. So we also have our Conservation Stewardship program, or our CSP program, and that is one that encourages our more comprehensive conservation across the entire operation. It's our largest landscape conservation initiative or conservation program. And our contracts for the CSP program are 5-year contracts. Those payments are made based on conservation performance. So we look at what the existing level of conservation was, as well as what are additional practices that will be implemented, and the resource concerns and additional resource concerns that those practices will address. The program still encourages participants to address their priority resource concerns, but it looks at it across the entire operation. So where the EQIP program looks at those resource concerns, and we may target a specific location or hit those issues within a specific spot. With our CSP program, we are looking to address those as we can across the entire operation, trying to, again, get that landscape conservation. And through the CSP program, we're looking to move our applicants to a higher level of conservation and stewardship over the long term. So with those 5-year contracts, being able to ensure that we're able to implement and work with the participant to implement not just the practices, but also the management that would lend to the long-term stewardship of the farm, as well as the resources. And the eligibility for our CSP program. Similarly to our EQIP program, we are looking at all of our agriculture producers, but we are also looking at them as far as they must be able to have control of the land. So whether they are landowners or they have a lease or some type of agreement that establishes control of that land for the life of the contract, they are eligible participants. We do as well still look at those historically underserved incentives within our CSP program, and CSP can be implemented by our urban farmers as well. Again, we are not offering these programs that are going to discriminate on the size of an operation. So even our urban ag and smaller scale operations will have the opportunity to implement practices, management, and receive that technical and financial assistance for a wide range of operation types. Again, as I mentioned with EQIP, it's going to start with a conservation plan, but these contracts are going to be 5-year contracts. So we are looking at the practices being implemented over a time span of 5 years from when that contract is obligated. The payments, again, are going to be made looking at kind of two-part payments. So the participant receives a payment for their existing conservation on the landscape, but then we also provide those financial assistance payments for practices that will be implemented through the life of that contract. So if there's additional managements that will be implemented or additional practices that will be implemented, the participant will get annual payments at the end of our fiscal year, certified at the end of our fiscal year to be paid at the end of the calendar year or thereafter for the practices and conservation for that year. And our CSP program has gone through some changes. I know I mentioned a little bit earlier that there have been some adjustments to our CSP program. And this year we have rolled out a number of changes to our conservation stewardship program. One of those being the elimination of the use of enhancement codes. So in our transition to moving our CSP program to implementation based on the practice standard and aligning with the practice standards, we have eliminated the use of those E. They proceeded with an E for those codes, those enhancements codes. And so now we're using our practice standards with applicable scenarios for the implementation of the conservation stewardship program's additional practices. The program also saw an increase to the annual or the minimum annual payment. So it was previously $1,500, and I know this is a relatively recent, it was a change in the recent past, but just highlighting that the minimum payment for our CSP program is now $4,000. There was a change as well to our contract limit. That has been increased to $300,000 for individuals and $600,000 for joint operations. So that is one of those that is a somewhat of a newer change that happened here in the fiscal year 2026 for us. So just implementing that to kind of bring those contract limits so a little more similar to our EQIP program, but you will notice those increases as relative to our past contracts. Also, with the CSP program, participants will now have the ability to modify into an existing contract any newly acquired or newly eligible land. So the change here pertains to, in the past, participants that had new land after they enrolled in that contract. That new land was established under a new contract, and it became cumbersome and presented the possibility of issues with being mindful of what needed to be implemented on what contract in what year. And so we've made a change to allow for newly acquired land, newly eligible land to be modified into an existing contract to again streamline that service, streamline our contract management for the participant so that they're working with a singular contract that incorporates all of their eligible land into it. And then to jump into our regenerative pilot program. So our regenerative pilot program is going to be implemented through our EQIP and CSP program. As our Chief Betancourt mentioned, we are looking nationally and to have 700 million available through the pilot. So 400 million through EQIP, 300 million through our CSP program. And again, just those requirements being that we have a whole farm assessment. So we are wanting through this program to look at how the land is meeting certain resource concerns and where there may be some opportunities to address additional resource concerns. So doing a whole farm assessment. Also part of this program is we're wanting to make sure that we're meeting our soil and water resource concerns by the end of the contract. With soil and water being priorities in Maryland, those we are happy to see be national required resource concerns to be met for the contracts. So again, having that focus on our soil quality as well as our water quality. These contracts will be 5-year contracts. So it really aligns with how CSP rolls with that 5-year contract. With EQIP, it will just be where we could have had a shorter contract in the past. Now that contract would just be a 5-year contract with soil health testing at the beginning, looking at that first year and last year of the contract. So again, being able to quantify and identify how the conservation and management on that farm is improving our natural resources. We do have that soil health testing requirement as a part of this pilot program, and also the implementation of at least one primary regenerative practice. I know it was shared in the video and we can share it additionally as well, but looking at those practices that are related to our soil soil and water quality concerns. So varying from cover crop implementation, no-till, as well as grazing management. And we still do have our Regional Conservation Partnership Program. I know that has been a program that has been of great interest for partners, and it gives an opportunity for partners to be able to leverage their contributions and expand conservation implementation in priority areas. So it allows for us as NRCS to be able to focus on the initiatives and priorities that partners have identified at a larger scale and across the landscape. And the eligibility for this program, so it is one that is applied for by partners, and that eligibility and the type of project varies based on the partner's desire, and there are different eligibility requirements within each project as well, determined by the partner along with NRCS. The RCPP program is, again, a competitive opportunity. There are two fund pools, the critical conservation areas and the state and multi-state fund pool to which projects will be able to be submitted. Currently, for the current year, fiscal year, our notice of funding opportunity has not been announced just yet, but I do want to stress and encourage folks to keep an eye and keep an ear out because that is forthcoming. So just to look at the different project types, as I mentioned, RCPP has some flexibilities. So we have our RCPP Classic project type, as well as an alternative funding opportunity or alternative funding arrangements for partners within those projects. So if a partner has interest in either one, it will dictate what may be some opportunities and flexibilities for the implementation of that project. So both of these are great ways. It does depend on what resources and things that a partner or partners have available and how they would like to deliver that project. But an RCPP Classic project is a partner-defined project. So that partner would define the scope, area, what they would like to prioritize as far as resources. But NRCS would be responsible for the financial assistance execution through those producer contracts, whether they're easements or also watershed agreements. So that would be done through our field office staff to deliver those contracts. The partner may deliver financial assistance in support of NRCS contracts. So a partner could also provide financial assistance payments to those contract participants through the program. And NRCS is also involved within our RCPP Classic in the technical assistance delivery. And it could also be done in conjunction with the partner. So within that RCPP Classic project, the partner and NRCS would be working closely together to deliver that technical assistance and or financial assistance as desired and defined within that project scope. And then our other project type is our alternative funding arrangements, also known as an AFA. And those are partner-led projects. So there is work with NRCS on the planning, what may be some opportunities, but the partner is going to be the one that establishes and delivers the contracts to the producers and the landowners for that project. The partner is the one that's also delivering the technical assistance and providing the technical assistance for those partner or farmers that are interested in that project. There are some inherently governmental functions that NRCS may have to provide as far as for the support and delivery of that project. But by and large, the financial assistance, technical assistance is delivered and led by the partner. And I did just want to kind of highlight a few of the projects that we have in Maryland that are part of our RCPP Classic and AFA. So we do have our Million Acre Challenge with Future Harvest. We have our engaging small AFOs in the nutrient management planning process through Sustainable Chesapeake, Eastern Shore Land Conservancy land protection initiatives with the Eastern Shore Land Conservancy. We also have connecting small and urban farmers in the Baltimore and Washington, D.C. urban corridor with conservation resources. That's also through the Sustainable Chesapeake. And achieving WIP goals in nutrient management compliance in Maryland through Maryland Department of Ag, as well as grazing for water quality and soil health through the Chesapeake Bay Foundation. So again, with these RCPP classics, through all of these are projects where the financial assistance contracts are being facilitated and delivered through NRCS business tools and our offices. But again, the direction, the priorities for that, how those applicants, those farmers that are interested, when they apply, how that ranking works out is all done with the collaboration and input of the and direction of our partners. And then we also have a couple of RCPP AFAs. And again, these are the ones that are a little more flexible. They allow, because they're partner led, allow for that partner to have some flexibilities in the payment rates, how those projects are delivered. And so we have our Maryland Clear Water Commerce Outcomes Project, as well as the scaling and adoption of adaptive nutrient management with using low-cost cover crop imaging and nutrient crediting technologies. And again, these are some of those that get kind of outside of the realm of our traditional practice implementations at times, and that is the benefit of those RCPP AFA projects. So just kind of hit a little summary of the programs for the year. So we have our EQIP program, again, looking at conservation plans and doing targeted implementation to meet those customer objectives and goals, and typically through shorter term contracts. And then we also have our CSP Conservation Stewardship program, where we're looking at the whole operation, doing and evaluating our stewardship thresholds and trying to enhance the operation through the implementation of conservation practices that are going to address additional resource concerns on the operation. And then we have our regenerative pilot program that is also looking at our whole farm plan, looking at implementing soil health testing, those regenerative practices, and with the goal of meeting our soil and water resource concerns, making sure that those are addressed. And then we finally have our RCPP partner-driven projects that are either partner-defined or partner-led, depending on the type of project the partner desires, but provides that targeted conservation implementation through the collaboration of the partner with NRCS. And again, these are being implemented currently. We are still taking applications for all of our programs. We are working through our contracting process currently. So for those applications that have been turned in by January 15th, we are working those applications. But if you are working with participants, farmers that have interest in participating in our programs, please do not hesitate to take them to our offices, our field offices, to schedule a consultation, and be able to have them sign up and apply for our programs where that participant has interest. And with that, I will pause. Are there any questions?
Hey, Leon, there is one already in the chat from Elizabeth Hoffman. I believe she's with MDA, the Office of Resource Conservation. So she's asked specifically about I think it's RCPP. Can you, or it says RPP, but RPP, sorry.
Yeah.
Can you share more about the outcomes-based approach? The cooperators are not required to achieve those outcomes as part of their contract, but that they have the ability to receive an outcomes report for their operation. Is that correct? And then what are those outcomes being measured beyond soil health?
Okay, so and thank you for the question, Elizabeth. So with that, we are looking at the outcomes as far as from a soil and water quality standpoint. So we are wanting through those contracts to ensure, and we're still working through, we would be using our planning tools to identify that we're meeting certain soil and water quality resource concerns. But as it pertains to the soil health testing, we are not setting a requirement for the participant to have a certain improvement in their soil health quality, but wanting to be able to see as well what the changes and improvements are on that farming operation to be able to quantify and identify those improvements through the use of the management practices through those soil health tests.
Thank you, Leon. And Elizabeth, please feel free to just send a note in the chat if that fully answers your questions or not, or a thumbs up. That's great. Thank you. Amanda Cather from American Farmland Trust, I believe, has a follow-up question. Are the payment rates for RPP the same as they would be for the same practices under EQIP or CSP?
So the payment rates are going to be the same because those practices are delivered through the EQIP and or CSP program. So RPP will not have a independent payment schedule from either program. So if they're doing RPP through EQIP, the payment rates will be through EQIP. If it's done through CSP, it'll be the payment rates for CSP.
All right. And again, Amanda, feel free to give us a reaction if that fully answers that, or if you have any follow-ups. Liz Warren from Delmarva Chicken Association. Thank you, Amanda. Regarding the CSP enhancement codes, is this change national or is it just for Maryland? That their particular organization works in 3 Delmarva states.
So that is a good question, Liz. And the change in the enhancement codes is national. So whether you're going into the office here in Maryland or you're going to the office and happen to go in Washington, if you were curious, it is a national change. So we did remove the enhancement codes, but it does not change how we're implementing conservation. What we are trying to do is streamline and simplify the delivery of the program. And so to remove some of the complexities with the number and quantity of various enhancement codes, we are moving back to using our practice standards and using those practice codes. So those enhancement codes still fell under the umbrella of our practice codes. But again, just getting back to simplifying so we're not breaking all of that out. It is now using those practice codes.
Thank you again. Kristen Hughes Evans, Sustainable Chesapeake. What is the best way for partners to ensure they are developing RCPP projects that are not only aligned with partner goals, but also aligned with and or improving NRCS capacity to deliver additional financial and technical assistance?
Thank you so much for that, Kristen. I feel like you threw me an alley-oop there. So the best way is to talk with us now. And when I say us, whether it's myself, our state's RCPP coordinator is Bianca Soto, and she's on the call as well. But we have a questionnaire that can also help kind of get you to frame out and identify what you're looking for as far as a project area, what you're interested in as far as resource concerns, what may be the funding that you need, how much you're bringing to the table. So we can start having those conversations and you can work through the questionnaire that we can provide today for you to kind of get those on paper. And then we can also talk as well and collaborate between now and our whenever the announcement goes out, the deadline to be able to identify what would work for you, how we can work and collaborate together, and what project type would be best.
Thank you, Leon, and thanks, Kristen, for that question. The alley-oop. Alec Eccles from the Campbell Foundation. What's being done to better engage the technical service providers in helping do outreach to farmers and deliver conservation?
So thank you for that question, Alex. I know that has been a push nationally as well. I know that we are working through our ecological sciences staff as well, because we also have the opportunity for the use of our TSPs through RPP. So we are having folks that are reaching out through whether it's the networks they have through the states, and also looking at those that are qualified and could qualify through different partner organizations for our not just TSPs, but also as part of our regenerative pilot program, we're looking to be able to access and utilize what we're calling qualified individuals. So there may be folks that have certain education and experience requirements that would be able to help us deliver and meet our goals as far as part of the RPP. And so TSPs and those QIs are going to be vital to that.
Sounds good. Thank you, Leon. Alec, does that really address the question you had? He's maybe typing a response, but any other questions? I think we've gotten to the last one that was in the chat. We have a few minutes left if there are others. While we wait maybe for others. Oh, there's Kristen. I think she
I
has
just have a quick comment. We have been working with NRCS on the regional conservation partnership programs, now regional partnership programs, I think, for like, I think almost 11 years now. We were working with National Fish and Wildlife Foundations on one of the very first ones that was submitted in 2015. And I just want to offer, if anyone has any questions about what it's like, the NRCS team is great, but if you want to talk to a grantee, or not a grantee, like an RPPP partner, we're here for you. And I'll put my name and my email and phone number in the chat. And please feel free to reach out if you want to just get a sense of what it's like to develop and manage one of these projects.
I think that would be great, Kristen. Thank you for offering that. That real world experience is so helpful. Let's see. I think Alec maybe had follow up a little bit. And Alec, you're free if you want to ask that, or I can ask that.
Well, I'm happy to ask it. I mean, I appreciate it's not easy and it's not done. And I know the agency, for example, signed an MOU with the Tri-Societies, I think a year ago, that if you're certified as an agronomist, that meets the TSP requirements for that. I've talked to the Tri-Society. They say it ain't happening. And, I know GT has this very much on his radar as they're working on a new farm bill. This is not going to be resolved at the state level. This is a critical gap in capacity that we can help address.
So I appreciate you sharing that, Alex, and I know it's been a priority as well as nationally to how we can better access more TSPs and looking at the certification process. So I appreciate you asking that question. I know that it is something that the agency is looking at and evaluating. So I can look more into it and get you some additional info back if needed.
Yeah, I won't take up everybody's time, but Leon and Suzy, I know you all are very much aware of this issue, and I'd be thrilled to work with you on it.
Yeah, and Alex, any feedback or suggestions would be great. Right now, we're working with our state soil scientist, Phil King, on trying to maybe centralize those the soil testing kind of at the beginning of those RPPPs, categorize, label, and organize them before they get shipped off to a lab. Also offering, because they don't have to be a TSP to get those soil samples, but there needs to be some kind of methodology and chain of custody and kind of integrity of those soil samples. So we are planning to train both partners and our field staff on how to gather those samples, and then that way our field staff and our partners can spend more time in the field with our customers directly, kind of what the chief wants, instead of consultants or TSPs just doing that type of work. So we can better engage and talk more about their conservation plan. But centralizing those samples to go to the PMC, categorizing, organizing them. Phil's worked in soil labs where, if there's missing data or missing components of those lab samples, they get put to the side and they don't get those results right away. They don't get that report. So I'm working with Phil to try to figure out, like, at least locally, how we can centralize that and store them and kind of keep that integrity of those soil samples to make sure that RPP doesn't get flooded with, I think right now there's 5 certified labs to run the program, but trying to get our local land grant universities up and running so we can just drive them over from the PMC to our land grant. But we're working on it. We're trying to brainstorm and figure out, as there aren't enough people out there to do the work, we'll brainstorm and put our heads together and figure out how to better get this lift done.
Thank you, Suzy. And thank you, Alec, for the question. A couple people have asked about the recording, so I'll just go ahead and answer that question. We will send out a link tomorrow, or an email tomorrow, to everybody that registered for this, with the link to the recording as well as the survey questionnaire that has been mentioned a couple times. So look for that by tomorrow. Let's see. I think there were others. Kristen added her contact information in the chat for anybody that wants to reach out for RPP project experience. Are there additional details you can share about the timeline for the release of the FY26 RCPP NOFO from Emily Johnson?
Emily, I do not have any additional information at this time. I will share, it'll be a national announcement. So just like with our national announcement for EQIP CSP deadlines, it's going to follow probably the same framework, but I don't have a timeline on it.
That's okay. Understood. Just thought I'd double check. Thank you.
Thank you. The same question from Kristen about SIG, I think. Any idea whether SIG is going to be offered this year?
I've been told it looks like SIG will follow later this year. I don't know when, but that is the word, is that there will be an announcement later this year.
Alec has another question comment in the chat. Recognize that NRCS conservation programs are oversubscribed, so the agency may not feel like they need to step up the outreach. However, from NRCS data, less than 5% of farms participate in NRCS conservation programs. We need to get broader adoption and not just work with a limited number of farmers. Understand completely that it's a sticky problem. So I don't know if either of you have a response to that. Want to add?
I mean, look, I do. Look, I appreciate your understanding, and definitely it is tough to meet the demand, but also understand that even with meeting that additional demand, we are continuously oversubscribed. So
Yeah.
definitely understand.
All right. I think that got to the end of the questions, unless there are others. I will hand it back over to Bob. You want to wrap this up?
Great. Well, join me in thanking virtually or in the chat Suzy and Leon for spending time with us today and bringing us up to speed on what's going on their end. I'd also like to recognize there was a lot of work that went into making today happen, both in terms of planning and today's execution. Special thanks to Kristen and Paula and Allison for making that happen. And finally, thanks to all of you for joining us today. One, for engaging with us. Two, for the engagement and the active questions today and good dialogue. And finally, for the work that you're doing for agriculture and for water quality on Delmarva. Appreciate it so much. With that, we'll give you back the rest of the day, and thanks again. Take care.